Bradley Rogers 2119 asked me to create a fun build for Minthara, and I decided to take that and improve the most strongest build I've created yet. I took my Gunsinger Build and gave it a poison Drow hunter from the Underdark flare. We heal every turn, constantly keeping a cycle of poison where enemies will always have disadvantage to attack us. Our attacks will always have additional damage dice added to it. All our shots enfeeble their strength, dex, and constitution saving throws and drop them on their ass if we get high enough. We can get about 9 to 10 bolts out in the first round of every combat, each bolt doing an additional d6 of poison damage and an additional 13 points damage added on top. Not to mention every single status effect that we stack on top of these bolts, including another d4 of psychic just to top it off. I took this lady and soloed so many groups of people it was insane. Barely needed to lift a finger. Hi guys, I hope you like my build video. There'll be chapters below if you wanted to skip around. If you're starting this character from level 1, I would suggest taking Ranger as our first level. It's not the greatest as far as saves go, but you do have access to basically every piece of equipment in the game, especially if you take the Ranger Knight type of Ranger, that way you can have heavy armor. I also suggest making sure you get fire resistance here, just because it's the most used element in the entire game. As far as abilities go, make sure that your dexterity and your charisma are 16s. You could make wisdom your 14 for your ranger spells. I didn't end up using much of them. Constitution probably would have been a better choice, but I also didn't really get hit. But if you're starting at level 1 and not just re-skinning Minthara as soon as you join your party, I would probably suggest doing Constitution instead of Wisdom. Level 2 opens up Ranger spells, but who cares about those? You definitely need to pick a fighting style though, and Archery is the best one. We're going to be grabbing Sharpshooter here soon, and having a +2 to hit is going to be very, very helpful. Third level opens up our subclass, and we're going to pick Gloomstalker. It's giving us an additional attack at the first start of a combat, and we're also going to get a boost to our initiative, all that fun Gloomstalker stuff we all know and love. We're going to keep barreling through Ranger, making sure our next level grabs us the Sharpshooter feat to add 10 points of damage to our bolts, as long as we take a penalty of 5 to hit. Our next level in Ranger is going to open up second attack, and that is going to be the end cap for us in Ranger. And now to put that charisma to work, because our next level is going to pick up Bard. Bard is going to open us a couple of spells here. I would just grab the ones that support the most. Healing Word definitely is the biggest help. Thunder Wave to get people away from you, all that fun stuff. Our next level in Bard doesn't give us anything crazy, just Song of Rest, and we get to pick another spell from the first level category, but the next level in Bard lets us pick the Sword College. This is absolutely dope because now we get to pick the 2-weapon fighting style, so our offhand hand crossbow does get to use our dexterity for damage, and we get our fun flourishes, but especially Slashing Flourish, which gets my award for hardest word to say with a speech impediment. Slashing Flourish. Ugh, God, that's so hard. But yay, our next level gives us a feat, which I heavily suggest just increasing our dexterity up to 18. Additional +1 to hit is going to be a big deal for anyone doing Sharpshooter, and nobody gets upset about a point more of damage. Our next level abandons Bard and goes into Rogue. Bet you saw this one coming. First level of Rogue is going to give us a sneak attack already, just adding additional d6 to one of our bolts once a turn. Our next level opens up cunning actions, letting us disengage, dash, and hide with our bonus action, but we could already do that one with the Gloomstalker. Anyway, our next level in Rogue is going to open up our subclass, and now we get to pick Thief, giving us 2 bonus actions, which we will be using our offhand crossbow to shoot as many times as we possibly can. See, it's a pretty easy build. Most of the cool mechanic crazy stuff comes from the equipment, so let's dive right into that. Getting the easy equipment out of the way, the hand crossbows that I suggest using are the same ones everyone suggests using. The Hellfire hand crossbow that you can get from Ygir, probably not saying his name right, from Shar's Gauntlet. If you beat him and make sure that he dies there, you can pull this out of the corpse of Ash that he leaves behind him. It's +2. It's one of the best, if not the best, hand crossbow in the entire game. And the other one is the Near Misser. This is a hand crossbow that you can buy from the Zentarium Merchant in Moonrise Towers. All damage from this crossbow is force, which is a really cool way to get around monsters or people that happen to have a piercing resistance, you know, like barbarians and stuff like that. So you can really get all of your huge points into them without having to have it. Our melee weapons are purely stat sticks. The first one that I use in the main hand is the Knife of the Undermountain King. You can buy the short sword in the creche from the merchant. It's one of the best short swords in the entire game. It's going to lower your crit hit ratio, so you would crit on a 19 or 20. It also lets you re-roll damage dice if you roll 2 or less, taking the higher option, which is very, very great. And in my offhand, I really like to use Cold Snap. It's a dagger that you can buy as soon as you get into Rivington in Act 3. The merchant in the refugee camp that's secretly looking for Shadowheart can sell this to you. It's a +4 cold, which is whatever, but if you have it in your offhand, it gives you a +1 to your AC, so it's really nice as a stat stick. Also, we can get armor out of the way. The Dark Justiciar half plate that you can get in Char's Gauntlet in the same room that you find the Spear of Night is one of the best choices for most ranger builds. It's one of the best medium armors in the entire game. Besides letting you cap out at an 18 for your AC and not giving you disadvantage on stealth, but actually advantage on stealth if it's dark enough, besides giving you advantage on constitution saving throws, maybe to contain a spell and continue it going when you get smacked in the face. Besides letting you cast a reskinned Shield of Faith for free once a day, letting you have a max of 20 AC just from the armor. Besides all of that, it has a secret ability that when you get hit while having that Shield of Faith on, you do D4 of necrotic damage back to that person, and all of the damage you take is reduced by 2. This is one of the best armors, if not the best armors, for anyone that's not running heavy. Our headwear is going to go to the Diadem of Arcane Synergy, letting us add our Charisma modifier, which is 3 points of damage onto each one of our shots. And the condition we're going to inflict is poison. And we're going to do that with the Poisoner's Gloves. Every time we deal poison damage, the target has to make a save or become poisoned. And all of our bolts are going to do poison damage automatically with the Broodmother's Revenge. The Broodmother's Revenge is a necklace that you can get from Kagra in Act 1 as long as she dies. As long as she dies and you're around the corpse, you can pull this off her. I tried stealing it from her. It doesn't come up as stealable, so that might have been fixed in a recent patch or not. I haven't checked, but it does look like she has to die for you to get this necklace. Every time you heal, you will then be given the Broodmother's Revenge, and for several rounds, all of your weapon attacks will do an additional d6 of poison damage. Now, you can keep this wheel a-turnin' with a simple cloak called the Devoration Cloak, that when you poison a foe, and you heal yourself a d4. You can get that cloak in Balthazar's room in the Moonrise Towers in Act 2. Personally, I just like to equip the Ring of Regeneration. You can buy that ring at Sorcerer Sundries as soon as you get to the city. You don't have to worry about making sure you start off by getting healed or healing a potion or anything like that. You can just know for sure at the start of every round you will heal. The necklace will trigger, letting you use your gloves to poison foes, which will trigger the cloak, which will then heal you, which will also trigger your Diadem of Synergy, which will then give you Arcane Synergy for more damage, and will also trigger our last piece of equipment, which is the Boots of Stormy Clamor. These boots will go off every time you poison a foe, just like your diadem will, and this will inflict 2 stacks of reverberation on the target. You can find these boots purchasable in the Underdark, but you do have to complete the quest from the Lithid to do it, so definitely just go get the Tin Mask Spores and the Tongues, drink the potion. Getting the boots is well worth it. All this equipment just works so well together. I'm really proud of it. There's one more icing to the cake though. We do want to make sure that we are using one of the Illithid powers, which is why Minthara is one of my main choices for this build, because she automatically comes with Illithid powers in her being, so you don't have to make any kind of roleplay choice about, using any of yourself. Minthara is already, down to clown. Using the Illithid skill Psionic Overload, you're able to add additional d4 Psychic to each one of our many hits, as long as we are taking 1d4 of Psychic at the start of every turn. It's a pretty good trade-off. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed my video. I want to thank Bradley Rogers 2119 again for the request, and I'd also like to thank all my sponsors, and especially those guys right there. Anybody in the adventure or higher category in the YouTube's memberships get put in the ending credits, and they get put into a raffle that pulls every Sunday. This Sunday we're giving away one of my new pairs of athletic shorts. They've become one of my favorite things on the planet. I'm very happy about them. They get to pick one of the 6 styles I have available right now, and it's all theirs. Alright guys, anyway, bye, love you.